What is up, guys? Red Chaos One here, welcoming you to the new year 2022. So, I know it's been a while since I posted a video. I was just, some other stuff was going on in my life. But I am still doing YouTube videos, and I decided to go back to some of the video series I haven't done in a while. So, that includes, my series on web novel recommendations, whether they be superhero stories, sci-fi stories, fantasy stories. I'm doing all those. So, before we go on, you guys know the usual. I have a book, a web novel. I am an author. It's on Wattpad, and you will find the link to it in the description below. Below the links to the books that I talk about in this video, and also I have a Twitter and a Discord channel, so you can go check out my Discord and my Twitter, which shall also be linked in the description below. And I would be very much happy to hear from you on my Discord channel, as well as checking out my book. And you can also check out these books that I heavily recommend for you. All these books. So, let's go and start my top 5 countdown. So, we begin our number 5 by going to Royal Road with our story Underland by Maxim J. Durand, also known as Void Herald. So, yeah, I've not been to Royal Road in a while, so it was great to read this book, and that's why I've put it on the top 5 fantasy books that I recommend. So let's go to the synopsis like I usually do, so that you can get an idea of the video of the story. You can get an idea about what the story is about, and I might throw my thoughts in there a little bit. So, once the sun shone brightly on Azelant, until came the white moon to steal mankind's light and condemn it to eternal darkness. Valadamar Verni is a sorcerer with a dream to find a new world for his people to settle, one where the sky isn't a ceiling made of stone. But in the underground empire of Azelant, dissent is never tolerated. Brought before one of the undead Dark Lords, Valdemar is offered a choice he cannot refuse. Meanwhile, the swordswoman Marina Reynard is given a mission to investigate a dead cult with a few mysteries left to unravel. Both are looking for the truth, though they might regret finding it. For many cultists, monsters, and cosmic horrors stand in their way. They'll just have to kill them all. So yeah, that's the synopsis for Underland. So yeah, a great story, and as far from what I can tell you, it's great stylistically in its world building. Its grammar is amazing. It's very serious with some great horror elements, and yeah, that's a lot about what I could praise it for. It's a great written book. Okay, what I can say about this book and a lot of other books that I'm going to talk about is these books, I can say, feel professionally written. Like a lot of books can feel, web novel books have a certain feel. Like we don't edit them in a way that usually is edited or written in a way that looks like extreme professional books, which isn't to insult web novels, but web novels have their own format than traditionally written books. So Underland is one of those books which, if I printed it out and I turned it into a physical book and I put it in a bookshop, it would not feel out of place. So number 5, Underland. You want to check this book out. You remember, go down to the description below and you will find the link to the story. Next, at number 4, comes Fate's Bow a 97 chapter story from Webnovel.com, and let us go through its synopsis. The continent of Ardinia is in flux. Nations move to swallow their neighbors. Roving bands of marauders pillage the countryside, and piracy chokes the seas. The Archon rules the Mercan League, a peaceful alliance of city-states in the center of a continent, with his seat in the capital of Merlabria. But the Archon's health is waning. The House of Mercan is on the verge of conflict. Both princes vie for the Archonship, and the aristocracy okay, maybe I need to go back to English class. I have failed to spell the aristocracy. Alright, let's just pass it. The aristocracy looks to settle old scores. In the west, the Althai Federation is in a state of civil war, and the conflict spills over the border into the League. In this time of growing conflict, the Archon summons the Grand Scholar to the capital. Warlord of the southern frontier, bulwark against the horrors of the Dark Forest, and former court member. The Scholar has many enemies jealous of his meteoric rise to power. A simple trip to the capital will not be easy. But the branches of fate are fickle, and a single encounter between a slave and a warlord can change the course of history. So, if you want a deep, well-built story with grounded combat and a gritty, realistic feel, and one that's also character focused, this one is for you. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the usual OPMC characters from web novels that are typical, so yeah, you might not get that in this one. But I would very much recommend it for you if you're looking for that deep, realistic, gritty fantasy story. If you're into that, I would very much recommend this story. So yeah, now let's go on to number 3. And now we go to Wattpad, which, yes, has some great fantasy stories that aren't just about girls getting with bad boys. So our story is The Blade of the North, written by H.A. Jones 21. It's a completed story, so yeah. If you wanna have a book that is finished and you're not interested in chasing it chase it until it finishes, an ongoing story that you don't want to invest too much time in, then this one is for you. So, our story goes as follows. Nation after nation has fallen to the invading armies of the Emperor Tigranik. When the Emperor's army threatens the city of Tolos, 16-year-old Sarah Fairgrave flees with her friends in a desperate search for help. But Sarah knows that there is only one thing that will end the war and save her father trapped inside Tolos: the death of the Emperor. So, short synopsis, but I heavily recommend this book. Another book that has a grounded feel to it, that isn't afraid to shy away from, that isn't going to shy away from dark concepts, and heavily fun. You're interested in assassins, you're interested in great world building, you're interested in actions in a story that is very deep. This one is one I recommend for you. So Blade of the North is my number 3 spot. So now we're down to our top 2. And at number 2, we have The Last Aurelin from Royal Road. So, like usual, we go over our synopsis. According to the prophecy, The ninth born child of Lord Aurelin will have the sort of power that changes the world. But in a land ruled by magical families, no one welcomes the possibility of a dangerous new player. Fearful even of their allies, the Aurelians came up with an extraordinary and deadly scheme to protect themselves. If the most powerful people in the world wish to kill the ninth-born, they will have to find him or her first, and that's not with ease. When the Aurelians have called up dark magic to create hundreds of heirs, the boys and girls are given new bodies, new names, and new magical talents before they are scattered across the continent. Only one among them is the real ninth, but all of them will have to grow up in a world where they are fugitives. Kalen, once fated to die, is now an Aurelian heir hiding, and he is determined to survive, and even if he has to master his strange new power to do it. So again, this is a epic fantasy story with a vast universe, and it's long, so if you are into the old school fantasy type of story, like those are the ones that I'm mainly focusing on today. Maybe another recommendation video that I cover, I can talk about the big bombastic epic high fantasy stories that take something from maybe stuff like Warhammer and Final Fantasy, but for now I'm sticking more to the grounded stuff. So yeah, that's the Last of the Aurelin. Now let's get to our number one book, and a book that I have very much enjoyed reading, and that has been my go-to to read fantasy stories the past lower half of last year and into this year, which is Beneath the Devouring Eye, another Wattpad story by Sasha Ostrom. The story, the synopsis goes as follows. The comfortable lives of a thief and a prince are about to be turned upside down. Dami, a 15-year-old thief, born without magic in a world controlled by the sorceress light holder class, just wants to survive on the streets. But first he has to survive his next job. Daedalus, a young light holder royal, just wants to do his duty and guard the trellis, an ancient magical device that protects the world. But something is wrong with his magic. No one can avoid the coming reckoning. The magic holding the world together is beginning to fail, and beyond the trellis weakening protection, a dangerous ancient power waits. Dami and Daedalus face a future neither boy can imagine. Will they rise to the occasion, or will the world around them crumble? Another fun book that I enjoyed, I heavily recommend that you read this book. Amazing characters, great world building, magic system is amazing, has a grounded feel, but if you're not into that too much grounded feel, it has a lot of magic going on in it. Like you have sorcerers flying around shooting lightning bolts, you have a device that's protecting the earth on a global scale, you have a story that shows some serious world building also in terms of its social issues, class divide, stuff like that. Amazing story, recommended 10 out of 10. So these are my recommended books for you. If you want to read them, go down to my description, and you'll find the books linked, and you also find links to my Discord, links to my Twitter. You also find links to my own book, Phantom Drake, which is an action high fantasy story with science fiction element. So yeah, this has been Red Chaos 1. Happy New Year.